What is going on to all my A24 horror fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new movie review, and today we're breaking down the new Alex Garland written and directed film by the name of Men, which I saw in theaters last week. And I'm not gonna lie, it took me a couple days to process the film, still kind of processing some things, but this is definitely one of those challenging films that stays with you for a few days. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? We'll be discussing that and so much more in today's spoiler-free review. But before we get into all the details, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel and love early movie reviews, TV breakdowns, and live streams, well, come and join the community today by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. And as you all can see on the screen now, if you enjoy what I have to say about this film, make sure you all are liking and sharing this review, but more importantly, in the comments, share your thoughts on the film. Of course, once you've seen it, from your pros, your cons, your thoughts on the direction, the score, the cinematography, the performances, the motifs, the metaphors, the symbolism. Did it all work for you all at the end of the day? Were you left disappointed? Let's discuss that. But if you're like a fan of Alex Garland like I am, why don't you rank all three of his feature films in the comment section? I'll share my list at the end of this video, so stick around and see my rankings. But hey, going into this film, it checked off all the boxes. A24, horror, Alex Garland, Jessie Buckley, Rory Kinnear. I was here for it. Did it live up to my expectations? Is this film worth checking out? Well, let's get into my positives. Starting off with the things that really stood out to me. Number one, the cinematography was absolutely breathtaking. The luscious greens, the beautiful scenery of the English countryside were so stunning, and mix that with the terror and the horror and the atmosphere that's created in this film, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but tying that into the score, which I thought was a character within itself. It was haunting, it was primal, it was just so mesmerizing. But I also love how they allowed the ambient noise, the natural noise to kind of mix into the film, which I thought was just mixed so beautifully. But let's talk about the writer and director, Alex Garland. I love his scripts from 28 Days, Dread, him writing and directing films like Ex Machina, Annihilation, Devs. He's such a risky filmmaker, and I have to say, for me personally, I think this is undoubtedly his most ambitious but also riskiest film to date. He creates such an unhinged and unsettling atmosphere that's truly amplified by the emotions in this movie of dread. Now, get into some of his choices, which I'm not gonna lie, not all of his choices work for me, but get into the positives. I can't thank him enough for taking the willingness to take the extra step that I applaud as a filmmaker. He truly brings a terrifying element towards this film, especially when you get in the third act. So again, there were some choices I wasn't a fan of, and I know there will be some people that see this film like, why did he go that way? But it is A24 that allows him to make the swing for the fences, which again, doesn't always work, but I applaud the efforts. But getting into the performances here, starting off with Jessie Buckley, who I am such a big fan of. I fell in love with her as an actress when I saw her in Netflix's I'm Thinking of Ending Things. In her role in Fargo, she's so underrated, but she is given everything in this role. She is so welcoming. Her engaging screen presence is just there. Her character goes by the name of Harper, who's taking this mental vacation after witnessing a very traumatic experience, and you're seeing her character navigate this experience, and she is taking responsibility to what's happened to her in this experience that she's going through, and she has to confront her past through this very trippy and terrifying experience that literally comes to manifestation. And what I love about Jessie, she's just spectacular. She is just so great in this role. And when you're seeing her in this film, she is just giving you everything. And then max that with her co-star, Rory Kinnear, who, if you've seen the trailers of this movie, no spoilers, he's doing a lot. He is playing a lot of characters in this movie, and I thought that he was also spectacular as well. He's playing Jeffrey the landlord, the minister, the terrible teenager, the supernatural character that stalks our main character. And what I love about Rory in this role, he's such a great actor because he provides you with different layers to each of these characters. Some of them are a little bit more welcoming than others. Some of them are menacing. He just gives you, just like Jessie does, he gives you everything in this role, and I thought they were just fantastic. So getting into a little bit of the narrative, a little bit of the themes without giving too much away, because it's A24, it's Alex Garland. The less you know, the better. But touching on some things that really stood out to me in this script. Number one, when you look at it from just a surface level, it's very understanding from a story of a woman dealing with grief and anxiety and all the emotions while experiencing this literal idea of the title of this film, which is Men, which I thought the idea of men in this film was handled beautifully. And what I mean by that is the men in this film view our character Harper and they place their religion on her, they place their opinions on her in the matter, but more importantly, which is so interesting, the men are traumatized by their experience and they're blaming Harper for their emotions, which I found to be handled pretty well in this film. But getting back into it all, when you really dive deeper into the film, it tackles themes such as gender roles, domestic violence, and there's very prominent religious undertones, and just to name a few. And there's a particular religious angle that is very supernatural, and I won't get into the details, but I really enjoyed the elements of surprise that this film had to add, especially when it tackles some of those more supernatural elements. But I don't want to leave out, being a horror fan, the body horror in this film is next level. This is Alex Garland's most terrifying as well as horrific films to date. He takes it to the next level, and one who is seen 1,000 horror films, I'm kind of desensitized towards certain elements of horror, but there are literally scenes in this film that will never leave my brain. Like, saying that this film is uncomfortable is an understatement. There's some imagery that I found to be very disturbing, very grotesque, very disgusting, and there's a sequence in this film. I'll just say there are different versions of something going on that will stay in my brain forever. And as a horror fan, I was pretty pleased by that. But getting into my criticisms here, now I'll say this about Alex Garland. This is one of the most disconnected films that I've found from him. From a personal level, I found that he focused more on emphasizing more of the symbolisms than he chose to stick with the story. Now, getting more into how I feel like this film was a mix between Hereditary, Midsommar, with a little bit of Annihilation moments. But the thing that I like about those films, and particularly Annihilation, it never lost focus of the story while giving you the symbolisms in this film. I think it was the opposite in this film. The first half, to me, did such a phenomenal job of setting the stage with Harper's mindset and all the emotional journey that she went to, and it teed it up perfectly in a great way. But as we transition more into the second half, and definitely when you get into the third act, it takes a really left turn. For some people, it might work, but for me, it just really kind of left me disconnected. Now, getting back into the actual kind of more minutia of what I didn't like about it, I felt his choice to continue to repeat like flashback sequences. We get a sense of where Harper's coming from and what she went through, but we kept revisiting that scene. And now there was obviously alterations every time we revisited, but I thought it just could have been told to the audience in just one scene, in my personal opinion. This is a nitpick, but it was something that bothered me. There is and again, if you've seen the trailers, there's a CGI character in this film, and I personally thought they should have left that CGI character in more of the nighttime scenes, because when you see the character for the first time in the daylight, it came off very comedic, and it kind of threw me out of the scene, if I'm being honest with you. Again, if you've seen the trailer, you'll know what I'm referring to, and of course, once you see the film, you'll know which CGI character I'm talking about. But lastly, I want to talk about the third act without spoiling anything. It definitely swings for the fences, but it almost strips away all the beautiful nuances in the performances in the first half that's displayed. And I felt like Alex Garland took such a shift in being more highlighting the more horrific elements in the story, and also it became less about the characters and more so about the motifs and the metaphors and the very disturbing imagery. So I feel like he kind of missed the marks on, we went on this incredible journey all to be kind of put to the side to show you these striking literal metaphors that kind of took me out of the film. So before I give you all my overall thoughts, give you my score, and of course my ranking of all three of his films, make sure if you haven't already to like, share, and comment below. Overall, I can't deny the performances by Jesse and Rory, and the beautiful shots and some of the creative choices by Garland was absolutely spectacular, but the hard shift in the narrative in his third act and that terrible CGI took me out of the film at points. This is without a doubt a very challenging film that I believe will be very divisive amongst its audience. Now, I still lean more towards the positive because the brilliance of the first half and some of the creative choices were really well handled. So with that being said, overall, I'm going to give Men a 3 out of 5. Now, I do plan on revisiting this film once it becomes available on, demand or VOD or on Netflix, because I think this is one of those films you have to see it multiple times. And I will be watching it multiple times. I know there were some things that I probably missed in my first viewing, but I want to talk more about this film. So We'll see if the schedule allows it, but when this film comes out, keep an eye out for maybe a spoiler discussion about some of the things that really stood out to me. What was going on with the supernatural? Why were there multiple of the same characters? And also, we're going to be talking about that third act more in depth in regards to the multiple versions of characters and how they were brought to the screen. So keep an eye out for that video if times allows it. But again, 3 out of 5 for me. Give it a watch. It is A24. So again, expect the unexpected. Some of them might work, some of them might not work, but give it a chance. And when you do, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Again, from pros, cons, thoughts on the direction, the performances, the motifs, the metaphors. Did it work? Did it not work? And let me share my ranking of Alex Garland's film so far. For me, number 1, Ex Machina. Number 2, Annihilation. And then number 3 for me is Men. And I hope that he continues to work in horror, but focus more on the characters, not so much on the symbolism. But hey, there's my rankings. There's my review. If you stuck around to this point in the review, I thank you so much. Before you all leave, make sure you're liking the review, sharing the review, leaving your thoughts in the comments, and subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Thank you again for watching this review. Hope you're staying safe. As you can see on the screen now, come and join the community. Check out my most recent movie reviews. Check out my latest review, and we'll catch you all on the next breakdown.